Welcome, everybody. And today we are talking about how having a high value diet actually makes you healthier and happier. And for this, my special guest is today Stephen Timoney. He is a self-performance coach. And we will talk about this. You will see the link, the direct link between the high value diet and what Stephen is doing. Also, warm welcome to those who are taking a step further and join as Bonsai or Jacaranda members. You will have the bonuses in your member area. But first of all, hello, Stephen, and really happy to have you here.
Hi, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be joining you today to talk about high-value diets.
Yes. So tell me a little bit, how did you start as self-performance coach?
Yeah, great question. Well, I started off as a self-performance coach because I, at some point in my life, needed to change my performance. And, a little bit of backstory on me, I'm a poster boy for everything that you shouldn't do in your 20s, the partying, the drinking, the not focusing on a career. And I think I was a little bit subculture because I didn't really do that well in school, even though I went to university, and I don't know how I got a degree, but I just never really enjoyed the whole process of the education system or really saw the way the world was set up as something enjoyable, like the 9-to-5 job, sitting in a cubicle for 40 years. Even to this day, that still sends a shiver down my spine. And I think because of that, I looked for a different kind of lifestyle. And I think because I was a bit lost and I wasn't too sure who I was in my teens and my 20s, the lifestyle that I leaned on was partying, was going to nightclubs that opened at 12 o'clock at night and closed at 7 o'clock in the morning, because it was subculture, it was different. I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. But by the back end of my 20s, I realized that was not sustainable. And it wasn't a healthy life. And it wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't good. So I was at a crossroads. What do I do? What do I do? So I was lucky enough, because I went to university, I was always in leadership positions, managing people. So I decided just to lean into leading people and trying to climb the corporate ladder. I ended up I just leaned into the matrix. I just leaned into the 9-to-5. Went, oh, here we go. Because at that point in my life, like sort of mid to late early 2000s, like we're talking 2008, 9, 10, the internet wasn't really as abundant as it is now when it comes to things that you can do. And I the only thing that I knew was the corporate, like what everybody else does. So I started reading a lot of leadership books, started reading a lot of personal development books. And in fact, funny enough, I actually bought a great personal development book by Robin Sharma that I thought was a leadership book. It was called The Leader, I think The Leader Without a Title, or The Leader with No Title. It's a Robin Sharma book. It was, I might have got the name of the title of the book wrong, but that actually stayed on my shelf for such a long time before I read it. And it was actually a fable about a guy in his late 20s that wasn't really going anywhere and felt a bit lost and wasn't really taking full responsibility for his life. And he visits like 4 or 5 different people that teach him a lesson. And I thought it was so funny because when I actually got around to reading that book, that's who I was. I was a guy in my late 20s, early 30s. It wasn't really going anywhere in life. And I bought that book thinking it was a leadership book. It was going to help me with teams. But it actually ended up being a self-performance book that opened up this gateway to meditating, to journaling, to trying to be more productive. And that was about 10 or 12 years ago that I read that book. And then since then, I just got into self-performance, and it became this thing to me. It became this way out. I went from basic retail jobs, earning your standard, high street or mall manager wages in those types of environments, to earning 6 figures in high-end luxury sales environments. And then I switched careers completely and started working in the corporate world again in high 6 figures. And I put all that down to self-performance. I put it all down to being able to look at things differently. And it's almost like I became subculture within normal culture, because I was clubbing as a kid because I wanted to be different. And then now I was into self-performance, and I think it was called biohacking at some point, where you were like doing all this stuff with your diet, and I was into the Bulletproof Diet by Dave Asprey and doing all that stuff, and putting MCT oil and butter in your coffees in the morning, and not doing that. And doing the whole fasting thing, the eating window of only 6 hours, which I still kind of do every day. So yeah, that's really my journey. That's how I got into self-performance. It was really, I was lost. I knew there was something wrong. And then I looked inside myself, and that's my journey. And I've just continued with this sort of personal development, leadership, self-performance journey for 10 years. And now I help entrepreneurs and executives and other people avoid doing the dumb shit that I did.
Yeah, I read his first book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, which I read I don't know how many times, and I really enjoyed it. And he started already there touching upon certain things, and I like the way he writes, and you have sometimes so much wisdom in what doesn't look like a self-performance or self-help book, but with so much value in it. So, talking about high value. So we have some things in common. For me, as a nutrition health coach, a high value diet means eating real food, the best quality, nothing processed, to nourish your body. So it's really top quality you want to give your body to flourish. But you have another aspect of the high value diet. So this brings us to the high productivity diet, which I think is more or less the same kind of thinking behind. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is actually the productivity diet?
No. So the productivity diet is a tool that I developed for my clients because I was sitting one day randomly looking at the food triangle, the food pyramid, and it just hit me that we get up each day, and for me, I don't eat till like 12 o'clock, and then I usually have a smoothie, and it's usually a plant-based hemp powder actually smoothie. And then I might eat a little bit of meat at nighttime, but I always try to start my day. First thing that I eat each day is usually something that's high value for me. Whether that's a coffee in the morning, whether that's a water. I'm currently drinking water with vitamin D and C in it to keep me going. So it's everything that I do is high value. And I wouldn't get up in the morning and eat Haagen-Dazs. I wouldn't get up in the morning and have a Mars bar or some other chocolate. I just wouldn't do that. And then it dawned on me when I was looking at the food pyramid that productivity is the same. Why do we get up in the morning and go straight on TikTok? Why do we get up in the morning and go and look at our notifications or our email? Because to me, that's like a Mars bar for your brain. It's like sugar. It's like dopamine. It's a bad thing. The first thing that we should be doing each day is eating really good whole foods. The first thing that we should be doing each day is doing really good high value activities for our life, whether that's meditation, journaling, high dollar work in our business, doing things that actually fuel us and allow us to get more done each day. But there's a attention problem in society these days with the way social media is set up, the way that a lot of jobs are set up. I mean, I know I used to work in corporate, and you'd get in and you'd log on, and within 2 minutes, your chat would explode with people saying morning to you or people wanting your time, and your attention is just gone instantly. And that's low value. That's like getting up in the morning and just like drinking a tub of chocolate ice cream. It's terrible for you. So that's the idea behind the productivity diet. This is the same kind of pyramid, stacking those healthy, high value, healthy foods, healthy activities, and only doing those for a certain amount of the day. And then later in the day, you can have a little bit of sugar. Yeah, you can have a little bit of Netflix. Yeah, you can have a little bit of TikTok. Yes, you can have a little bit of ice cream, whatever that is for you. But wait until later in the day. Yeah. And the idea for me would be eventually that you don't eat the ice cream at all, but we're not all perfect and we've got to enjoy ourselves sometimes. So that's the idea behind the productivity diet, starting with high value stuff.
Yeah, I think about this when I talk about the 90-10 rule. So if 90% of the time you eat healthy, 10% of the time you can indulge without guilt. And it's totally fine because the basis, your floor, it's actually 90% high value. So, or healthy in this. And it's true as well. If the first things you eat in the morning are healthy, you will eat less crap during the day than if you start eating crap in the morning. So I think, and it's the same when you talk about the productivity diet. If you start with high value work, actually you get things done, what you really want to do, what is really important to you. And it kind of primes your day, and you will do more crap. You will be less distracted by replying to emails or whatever comes up. No?
100%. It just works like that. I know the days that in my life, I have a bad morning and I go straight to my phone, or I go straight to Twitter. I have a reasonably large Twitter following. Well, it's okay. And, sometimes I can feel my brain being like, oh, let's go look at that to see what notifications, I run a coaching business. I'm going to have an offer go up underneath a tweet. And I'm like, oh, I better go to my email. But when the days I do that, I always then find that my brain is then switched into a different type of gear where I'm then chasing all day. But the mornings that I do, and what I do most mornings, is I actually sit for a good 40 minutes to an hour before I go anywhere near any type of screens. And I journal, might read, I meditate, take the dog out for a quick pee, get some fresh air. And it happens like that. So if, yourself, during Christmas time, when the chocolate's around the house and you get up sometimes in the morning and you have a little bit of chocolate with your coffee in the morning, the rest of the day, you're just like, I'm just eating whatever because it's Christmas. But, during a normal weekday, you're not going to do that. And that's what you're saying about indulging it's okay to indulge once in a while, but in general, you shouldn't be indulging every day, especially first thing in the morning. And I'm a big believer that we are the way that we set our days up is one of the major reasons why we fail. And it's not our fault. I want to say that to anybody listening to this, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, because the social media companies, from Google all the way through to Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, they know exactly what they're doing. And if you want to have a good day, you've got to kind of ignore these temptations for the first 4 or 5 hours of the day.
So what does your productivity diet look like exactly? Because you have 4 levels. Can you explain a little bit more in details how to apply this?
100%. So the 4 levels that I have is, the first thing I start off with is high value work. That's the first thing you should do every morning. Now, high value work is meditation, it's journaling, it's exercising, reading, it's having deep one-on-one conversations with people. That's high value work. It's creating systems that are going to make your life easier. That's high value work. Then we move on to high dollar work. And this is actually on my diagram. It's the chunk that has the most space, because I really feel like that's where we spend, as a business owner, as somebody who might be a leader or working in the corporate world, that's where you're going to spend most of your time during the day, doing high dollar work. Now, high dollar work is pretty straightforward. If you're an entrepreneur, it's your sales, it's your marketing, it's the stuff that rings the cash register in your business. If you're in corporate, it's your KPIs, it's your key performance indicators. It's the stuff that gets you promoted. It's the stuff that gets your boss to pat you on your back. That is what we should be doing. And I think that there's a lot of noise in both environments that stop us from actually doing that work. I know in corporate that there's usually meetings, there's usually sort of the thing of the day and make work projects. As an entrepreneur, we can get sucked into doing low value work. And that's the next thing above that, is the low value work. Low value work is busy work. It's what I call small cog work. It still needs to turn, because you still need to respond to emails. You still need to respond to notifications. You still need to do this work, but they don't make you any money. They might help build relationships that might eventually make you money, but you have to get them done. That's often work that you can do quickly at batching later in the day, or you can drop it completely if you think it's not good work, or you can delegate it to somebody. Now, I look at that type of work. The way I look at my day is I start with high value, high dollar, and then I might do a little bit of low value just before a break, or when I've got the coffee going on and I'm waiting, because I know I'm going to get up in 10 minutes and put it into the French press, and I know I'm going to do something else in 15, or I'm going to go to the toilet. during that sort of half an hour when I'm doing other things, I'll do low value work because low value work doesn't require you to get into deep focus.
Yeah.
Where high dollar work and high value work usually requires you a good 30 minutes, hour, 90 minutes of deep focus. So that's the stack. And then the top stack is negative value or zero value or negative value work, which is the top. That's your sugar. That's your dopamine. That's your TikTok. That's your wasting time on Instagram. That's you feeling bored and going to watch Netflix in the middle of the afternoon when you know you shouldn't be doing that. And that stuff's the sugar. It's the crap. It's the stuff that we should be avoiding. So that's the stack. And I have it stacked like that, like the diet, because I like to look at it like your day. Imagine that the pyramid is your day. You start off in the morning and your bar of willpower is full. You're just full. And then as your day goes, you probably have less and less willpower because you get tired. So as your day goes, the further your day goes on, the more likely you are to do low value or negative value work. But the idea is that you should be doing high value and high dollar work first. Then when you do the low value or negative value work, you do it with less guilt. You do it with less shame. You do it because you're like, I've already done the good stuff in my day.
Yeah.
And I always try to do important high value work before I do low value work. It's all throughout my day. It's important, high value, low value, important, high value, low value, because we still need to do the low value work. I still need to answer notifications. You still need to send emails. You still need to take phone calls. You still need to go to meetings. But before you do those things, you should always be knocking off something of high value first. And obviously I'll share the exercise or the mini program that I have with your viewers.
Yeah, I will put the link below. Yes.
I'll give you the link. Yeah.
It reminds me, actually, it's the same for life. So you can, it's not only your diet, the way you eat. It's not only the way you work. You can implement this in life as well. Thinking of, for example, self-care. If you push this at the end of the day, it never happens. So thinking about the moms who after a busy day, come home, have to take care of the kids, family, and so on. And then they say, I will do this later. And later they're so exhausted that they don't do it. So if you push this as the first thing you do in the morning, getting up a little bit earlier, taking the time for yourself, you will have so much more energy to go through the day and do high value stuff that actually at the end of the day, you feel fulfilled because you enjoyed doing what you wanted to do. You feel like you get things done which are important to you, not just the urgent things, which are oftentimes the urgent things which pop up on other people's schedule. And as you said, obviously you have to answer the emails and so on. And I remember that I changed, for example, notifications in my emails years ago, like no notifications anymore. And I go into my email box on a regular basis to watch if there is something. And if it's really urgent, people will call you. So you don't have to have this pop up or the noise notification telling you something comes in, because it distracts you also. If you are doing high value work, it's a distraction, and getting back into focus afterwards will require much more time.
Yeah. They say it takes about 15 minutes from a distraction to get back into deep work or deep focus. So it's really important to have those windows throughout your day that when you're doing that high value work or that high dollar work, that you're actually defending yourself from that low value work and that negative value work, and which can be hard because again, these low value work and these negative value distractions are set up to take your energy away. And unfortunately, one common thing that I see of a lot of entrepreneurs who I work with one-on-one and some of the corporate workers as well is they do spend a hefty amount of their day in the busy work, in the shallow work, in the firefighting, because it's easy for us to do that because it's the lesser goal. It's easier for us to focus on the small things. And I don't know where somebody got this idea from, but I always enjoyed Brian Tracy's idea of eat the frog. Yeah. I'm not 100% agree with what he says. It's the most complex and difficult thing you should do first. I just think it should be something that's high value to you or high dollar to you first. Doesn't necessarily have to be the most complex and thing that you fear the most, but I think that's the idea behind Eat the Frog. But somewhere along the line, somebody came up with start with small things and get momentum first. But a lot of people don't understand the small things still need to be high dollar and high value. But people start with small things first, and small things are usually email, notifications, phone calls. But they're not. That means you're then getting into the chasing mode. You're jumping straight onto that hamster wheel, and you're chasing things for the rest of the day. So I don't know who came up with this. Start with small things, build momentum. I think it's a terrible idea. I get the idea behind it, but if you're going to do it, you've got to make sure that the small things that you're doing fall in the category of high value or high dollar. You've got to be very specific, because doing email notifications, that stuff is not, that's not going to build momentum. That's actually going to take you away from the momentum that you need.
I think that these small steps, it's rather, you can implement this, for example, if you want to change something, like I want to eat healthier, start with little steps, taking away all the crap, for example, and then adding more good things.
I think that's for like a larger, like how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah, exactly.
One bite at a time.
Exactly.
You know, I get that phrase, but what I'm specifically talking about is the somebody's productivity for the day.
Yeah.
You know, trying to build momentum, because obviously if you're changing your life, having small goals that then sequentially stack is the way to do it. You know, you don't start going to the gym 5 times a week. You start going once a week, and then by the 6-month mark, you might be at 3 or 4 times a week. That's a slow stack. But this idea for people's momentum in a day, starting with small things, I always find that that's a major trap, because most small things are low value or negative value activities.
And I think it's really, it comes back from the way you eat, what you do, whatever it is. The first couple of hours in your day will prime your day, be it eating healthy,
100%.
Be it moving, be it work. And so if you start with little things where you don't have to focus, your day will be primed like this as well.
Yeah, because I think most people who are listening to this, their circadian rhythm, if they're an office worker or an entrepreneur who gets up, you know, between 5 and 7 in the morning, most of us are in that window where our highest cognitive abilities for deep work, for that complex work, is first thing in the morning or early afternoon. So it's the first 4 to 5 hours of our day. So the idea here, if you think about the circadian rhythm and your productivity, your performance, you've got these really brilliant hours of the day, first 4 to 6 hours of your day, where you are mentally on point to do fantastic work. So make sure that you actually allow yourself to do fantastic work and not to get sucked into this low dollar, low value BS. Mm-hmm. Because that's where you start to feel like you talked about at the end of the day, feeling more satisfied. If you lose those key 4 or 5 hours of your power, the magical superpowers you have every day, if you waste them to BS, to crap work, that's where you feel frustrated. Because when you go to do that more complex work later in the evening and you don't have the brain power because you're tired, then you get mad and you get frustrated with yourself. Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, I just to go off on a quick example, when I worked in corporate, I despised doing deep spreadsheet, sort of project management kind of tick box stuff in the afternoon after lunch, because it was the post lunch dip, mm-hmm. and everybody was tired. And you go into these meetings on Zoom or whatever, and we're going through these really detailed spreadsheets or on a Jira or on some project management software, and it's really slow, boring work. As the leader in that environment, I canceled those meetings in the afternoon. Now, unless it's an emergency, we're not having that meeting in the afternoon, because this is complex work. This is boring work in a sense, because it's frustrating. And having it in the afternoon when we're all tired at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is just painful. Let's move these to 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning, so we're all a bit more, give everybody a couple of hours to get into work, get their key stuff done, and then let's do it just before we all break for lunch, or let's just do it just after our first break in the morning. Those meetings, instantly much better, because people had a higher cognitive ability. People were more aware. People hadn't gone and had their heavy lunch. The engagement was much higher, and we got the work done a lot quicker. And that was because I understood the circadian rhythm. I understood this is complex work. This needs higher energy focus. This needs to be earlier in the day, because in the afternoon, we should be doing brainstorming. We should be having conversations. We shouldn't be doing technical work. Mm-hmm. especially if you're a corporate worker. But I don't know. I know from my time in working in corporate, the shitty meetings always seem to happen mid to late afternoon. And it just, I don't know why people still to this day don't understand that those types of meetings, those more technical meetings, those kind of, they need to be done at a time when people are actually more cognitively aware. Mm-hmm. Not first thing in the 100% not first thing in the morning, because give people time to do their important work, but they should be done earlier in the day, so people actually are more switched on. So that's just an example of using the circadian rhythm, and then thinking about the productivity diet, and then thinking about how you're actually setting up your day for high performance when it comes to your work.
Yes, I totally agree. And it reminds me when you were talking about to change things, what you were talking with Clint in your podcast about how he changed when he said he wants to do an Ironman, and
yes,
he didn't went for a run 5 days a week. So he started by buying his shoes. And so
yes.
these are the little baby steps which we can transpose in everything we do in our life, be it eating, be it working, be it even for the environment. I mean, you don't or you can't change everything in one day, but taking like little small actions at the end will have a huge impact.
Yes, and my recent podcast guest. Thank you for bringing up my podcast, Catherine. Appreciate it. But yes, he was sitting on his sofa and he was overweight, and he was being teased for being overweight. And his first action wasn't to start, as you said, it wasn't to go full on to like running a half marathons. It was like, I need to go and get my bike fixed, and I need to go to buy new running shoes if I want to do an Ironman. So it was like these baby steps, these small steps towards this bigger goal. Again, breaking down how to eat the elephant, one bite at a time, to repeat myself there. But yeah, no, I appreciate that you listened to that podcast and brought it up. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I will put the link below because it's really interesting, and I enjoyed each episode. So, which brings me to my last Fireside Chat, which I had with Benjamin Hardy. And at one point we talked about how you do everything is how you do anything. And I think it's really, it goes really good into what you were talking about, the productivity diet, what we just explained about the high value. So high value diet, be it what you eat, be it what you do, it has a huge impact. And I know you have a lot of other strategies, which are obviously for self-performance, but which probably can also be used in everyday life.
Yeah.
And
I've got a lot of strategies.
And one of those, we talked about this already previously, is the loop of performance. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Oh, yeah. So the loop of performance is a mental model that I use, or I discuss it a little bit with my clients. It's a framework that really basically says that to go forward, you have to go back. And the idea here is that you're raising your floor to raise your ceiling. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times in life, this is where my big thing in currently with helping people is to do less dumb shit. And it's the dumb shit that lowers your floor. The stuff at the top of the productivity diet, the negative value work, the eating the ice cream, the TikTok, the binge eating, the drinking alcohol, the partying, the stuff that adds no value to your life. But the loop of performance helps my clients understand that if they want to get to a higher level, they need to go back and fix the emotional issues, the dependency they have in these bad habits. Mm-hmm. For me, when I was stressed out, rather than going for a walk, I might have watched a movie. This is going back fairly recently, the last couple of years. Go back 10 years ago, when I was stressed out, I would have been texting friends about, we're getting beers tonight. We're going to go to there's a DJ coming this Friday night. Let's go party all weekend. So from 10 years ago, that was my floor. 4 or 5 years ago, it was watching TVs and movies. Now my floor is when things are stressful. It's meditation, it's journaling, it's going for a walk, it's exercising. Mm-hmm. Now, do I still fall into a little bit of TikTok and a little bit of Netflix? Yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm not a Jedi Knight. I'm not perfect at this yet. There's still areas of improvement, but I had to go back and I had to go in and fix the emotional issues each point. Where was the emotional issues what was I running away from? And before I could take that leap forward and sustain that leap forward, I had to fix my floor, because I early on, when I was getting into self-performance and personal development, I had big leaps forward where I was able to get these jobs. I was able to get 6-figure jobs, but then emotionally, I'd hit the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd catch myself out, at a nightclub at 4 or 5 in the morning, smashed, because I was dealing with some emotional issue because I wasn't regulating my emotions properly. So I had to go and think, well, why am I still doing that? If I've got a good 6-figure job, I've got a girlfriend, I've got a nice apartment, I've got all these good things in my life. Well, why am I still hitting these big emotional dips? Oh, because I haven't actually sat and fixed my emotions. I haven't gone back and actually fixed the actual issues in my life. Yes, I've got higher highs, but I've not fixed the low that I had in my 20s and 30s. I've paved over the cracks, so to speak.
Yeah.
I've covered the cracks with positive things, but the cracks are still there. And the loop of performance is this sort of idea that I use with my clients. More of a mental model. It's not something that I would use as a selling tool, but it's a mental model that I explain to my clients that often the reason why you're not making moves forward is because your floor is still as low as it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You're still using the same bad habits to deal with your emotions than you've always been
Mm-hmm.
doing. And until you fix that, you're going to have these big Bitcoin crashes. You're going to have these big highs, and you're going to have these big dips. You're going to blow up because you're not fixing your floor. And that's the concept behind the loop of performance, as I call it. It's just a circular loop that if you want to keep looping up in life, it's like a lot of people talk about it being like a long-term stock.
Yeah, actually.
But what I don't like,
rather like.
It's a squiggle. Yeah, the squiggle. Or people look like, when you zoom out, your progress looks like a stock. But I actually disagree with that, because when you're doing the stock market, you're not really going back and fixing your floor. So I like that loop back. You go back, you fix the problem, you find the root cause of the issue, and then you propel yourself forward. And then you're going to loop back again, because to be honest, as you level up in life, you also have to level down. Let me explain that. As you're leveling up, you get higher highs, but at the same time, you need to level down, because every time that we choose to level down, we're peeling back the layers to who we truly are, peeling back the layers to our true purpose, peeling back the layers to actually what we really want to do in our lives. But a lot of people don't do that leveling down. They don't go in deep to the inner game. They may get this success. We all have heard stories of the multimillionaires who are unhappy. Yeah, because that person, the money didn't buy them happiness, because they chased the wrong metrics. They never really they never leveled down to who they truly were within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really important part, not only of the productivity diet, because if you're doing those high dollar and high value things, especially the high value stuff, if you're doing those things daily, journaling, meditating, self-reflecting, you will be leveling down at the same time as you level up.
Yeah.
But too many people focus on just on the high dollar, because that's where you get the dopamine. That's where you get the oh, look at my money, look at my business. This is going to make me happy. People are going to like me more because I've got a successful business. No, people are only going to like you when you actually start liking yourself.
Yeah.
So that's
and I think that nicely brings us back to the productivity diet or high value diet. It's really when you take the time in the morning for yourself to meditate, to move a little bit, to eat healthy, to journal. And I think this is something a lot of people, I see this often say, yeah, no, journaling, it's not my kind of thing. But actually this helps you really dig into yourself and into your emotions, in your whys. And this helps you actually do the loop to go up and higher again.
Yeah. The most valuable habit out there, meditation for me was my keystone habit. It was like my gateway drug into clarity initially, but now journaling is definitely taken over, probably as the number one thing. I mean, I meditate most days, but now for me, meditation is it could be simply 30 seconds. But that's how I look at meditation. It could be simply just me breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth for 30 seconds and just getting clarity. That is how far my meditation practice is coming, where it's no longer about this sort of like sitting I need to have the perfect environment. I need to be on my little couch or on my little meditation pillow with the right kind of music, and that's how I meditate. That's not meditation. That's I don't know what you describe that as, a tick box exercise. Real meditation is just that ability to tap into sort of peace and clarity in your inner self very quickly. In my opinion, I might be wrong with meditation. People listen to this that
I
want to come at me.
that there is no one perfect way to meditate anyway, and I think what you want to say is rather finding the moment to find yourself and awareness, being
Yes.
aware of yourself.
Awareness,
Yeah,
yes.
it's really about awareness, finding yourself, being aware of yourself, your life, what's within you before you.
Bringing you in the now.
Yeah.
That to me is what meditation has come to. I mean, I enjoy sitting on the sofa with my eyes closed, doing the breathing exercises, and I try to do it every morning. But I find that if I'm just sitting on the sofa for 5 minutes, I tend not to pick up my phone. I will just stare at the wall. Sometimes I go to my room to journal, or I sit at a table to journal. And I actually find sometimes I open the journal and I don't actually write. I just stare and the thoughts just go. And then I might start writing. So it's a little bit of a sort of like a tactical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, journaling I've never journaled more than I have done in the last probably year and a half. And I would say that I've had my largest emotional shifts within myself. Coincidence? No, it's because I'm journaling. It's because I'm having that conversation with myself.
Yeah.
Getting that clarity. Like, you speak to anybody who writes, anybody who's a writer, they talk about how their journaling practice made them a better writer because they get their ideas out and they're able to get more clarity. For me, as a performance coach, it's not about improving your writing skills, even though it does help, but it's about improving your thinking that allows you to actually think about your emotions and talk about them. Because you'll find when you start writing, initially, you might only use like sad, frustrated, unhappy. When you first start journaling, you're only using like 3 or 4 emotions. But the more you write, the more you're like, well, I'm not actually feeling sad. What am I actually feeling? Frustration, embarrassment, shame, guilt. You'll actually start using different words for these emotions, and you'll actually start getting more clarity about actually what is your emotional barriers and your blockages. Because we need to expand our vocabulary of how we describe ourselves in our journals to allow us to actually move past the emotions. But a lot of people get stuck at that surface level of, well, I just feel sad today. No, you're not sad. There's something else going on. And the more that you explore the emotions and the larger the vocabulary that you have to describe it, the easier it will be for you to actually move past those emotions and to loop up further in your life. And that's where this is my advertisement for journaling right now. Journaling Co. I'm on commission for them. I'm joking.
No, but
the big journal are going to send me a check. But no, I just feel like it is a great way to actually explore who you are in much better detail.
Yes, I totally agree. I think that a lot of people, if you're not used to journal, and I know that now you have a lot of apps where you can just put your emotions like in a smiley form, how you feel today. But okay, you take stock on how you feel every day, but this will not bring you deeper into what's actually happening. And to really have this awareness, a lot of people don't know how to do this or feel uncomfortable with this because they never did it. And I think it's not about writing 3, 4, 5 pages or for half an hour. Start by just a couple of sentences, 1 or 2 paragraphs, and mostly do it every day. So it's really a question of consistency. And you will see that after doing this every single day, you will go from 1 sentence to 1 paragraph to 1 page, and you will feel inspired because you will really feel how deep you can go. It's like peeling an onion,
Yeah, no, I fully agree. You get the layers back. You're leveling down into your true self. And it's kind of funny because when I look back at my first journals, I was looking at them the other week because I finished one for this year and I was putting it in the shelf, and I pulled out a journal from my 2013 or something. And it was so funny how I spoke, not to myself, but how I wrote in that journal. It was very functional and tactical and very blunt. Like, I will do this. This is happening. It was very sort of like, it was almost like I was documenting things. Like I didn't know how to journal. Now I look at my journal and it's like a conversation.
Yes.
I'm not documenting my days about what happened. I'm actually having a conversation with myself and asking myself questions, because that's the one thing I missed earlier on in my journaling. Go back 10 years ago, I never asked myself questions. I just like wrote about the things that were happening, and what I'm going to do today, what I did today, boom, boom, boom. And as you said, when you're first starting out, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. But it can take, as I said, it's taken me 10 years to actually develop, about just shy of 10 years to develop let's say 8 years, maybe 9 years, to develop a very healthy journaling habit that actually is a conversation with myself. So it's something that I've struggled with for a long time. And definitely I lean more on meditation initially, because I thought that's where I was getting a lot more of the emotional development from. But now I would say journaling is the meditation brings me into the now and relaxes me, gets me out of chasing things and needing things and just like being who I am. Then that allows me to journal from a better position.
Yes.
If that makes sense. So it's like they're almost like a combo now for me in my life.
Yes. And what I just recall is, when you journal, oftentimes when I go back and read something from, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years ago, I'm always like kind of in awe because when you write, you don't think that it's something really spectacular. And each time when I read something I wrote back, whatever time, it's just like, wow, this was really great or profound, or, you have these aha moments. And it reminds me also that I think it was kind of 3 years ago, I did a journaling challenge with a question every day. And sometimes people don't know where to start, but just starting with a question can help you get into the flow of writing. Even if it's just, what do I want to do today? Or why do I want to do this today? What's bothering me? Or it's starting with a question will open the door.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So, a lot of stuff today. I really enjoy that. Where can we find you? I mean, I will put all the links below. You have your website, you have your podcast, you have also some courses and coaching. Let me know a little bit more of.
Yeah, I'll currently at the moment, the only course I'm kind of pushing is the Productivity Diet Mini Program. Everything else I've put sort of back of house now for my clients, and I'm building a few things in the background, but I'll give you the link for that so anybody watching this can download that. And that's a free program. It's a little mini course. It's about 30 minutes of video of different questions and stuff and explaining the productivity diet. But I mostly hang out on Twitter at Stephen Timoney. That's at STEVETIMONEY. I have about 60,000 followers on there. So you'll see me most days. I have the same app for TikTok and Instagram. I'm not on those apps as much because I don't really particularly like opening them, but I do update once in a while in both those apps. And then I'm also on LinkedIn at Stephen Timoney, which is my full name, STEPHENTIMONEY on LinkedIn. If you want to come over and say hi there on LinkedIn, I do post probably once or twice a day on that platform. And then my main website is stephentimoney.com. It's the full name again. I go by my full name on my website, and I go by my short name that people call me Steve on my socials, but it's STEPHENTIMONEY.com. And you'll find my coaching there. You'll find all my blog posts. You'll find my podcast, which is the Self-Performance Strategies podcast, which is a podcast all about helping you improve your self-performance. And I talk with guests sometimes, but mostly I do little short 15, 20 minute little deep dives into certain ideas, certain tactics or strategies that have helped me improve my performance. And I'm sharing the sort of like behind the curtain ideas about how you can improve your performance. So if you want to find me, that's where you'll find me. More than happy to have a conversation. My DMs and all my platforms are always open. And yeah, if you want to have a conversation about your self-performance, reach out to me. Be more than happy to talk to you.
That's great. I would say the last thing I would say today is really we should more often be aware of what we're doing and reach for high value, be it what you eat, be it what you do, be it what you think. And this will
Yes.
really prime your day. So start with this first thing in the morning. And this will prime your day for a better day, basically.
Standards.
Yeah.
High standards, high value standards, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more. It's a great way to finish everything off, Catherine.
Yeah.
Great. Well said.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here today. And next month, we will have the next Fireside Chat. See you all in 1 month's time. Bye.